Okay, I think it's time for the streamers and box office top 10. So Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire, which came out on a streamer. This email from Mark starts, an even more prosperous new year to you both. I had to agree with Mark wholeheartedly regarding his review of Rebel Moon, and the film was nutshelled further after listening to Simon's interview with Mr. Snyder. Simon attempted ribaldry with his wheat conversation, but this passed him by like a desert bushel, and it struck me there and then that this man has no sense of humour, just like the film. Throughout the film, I was delivering one-liners to myself in anticipation, but they never arrived. I love that Mark was just filling out a script in his head with this.
Riffing away.
Yes, I love that. Clearly, Mr. S has had so much Hollywood smoke blown up his blue moon that he believes his creations to be too earnest to be funny. And regarding this film as original is laughable and insulting. This was Magnificent Seven on another planet, not Seventh Samurai, which he arrogantly refers to, for this did have nuance. Yes, the FX are spellbinding, but crazy sci-fi? It makes me wonder if Zach has seen Alien, District 9, or even War Games for that matter. Godzilla 1 shames Rebel Moon in every way. Budget, script, FX, and originality. I hope Zach watches this over Christmas and hangs his head in shame. Snyder needs to take a long look at himself, get out of his Hollywood bubble for a while, and get some life experiences and a sense of humour. Mark, why don't you tell us how you really feel?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been known to enjoy a Zack Snyder picture in the past. Thought Army of the Dead was very good. I think his Justice League cut, hasten to add, I'm not one of those. But I thought his Justice League cut was really, it was like kind of the last word on superheroes. No one needs to do anything with superheroes ever again now that film's happened. In a good way, it's kind of said and did.
He says hopefully.
Everything that could be done with that particular strand of the medium. I have to say this I thought was pretty awful. And it doesn't, I mean, I know Mark said that he thought the effects were spellbinding. I have to disagree. I think it looks really grey and murky and sloppy, and like everyone is kind of wandering around in front of green screens all the time. The other thing that really puzzled me about it is that it began life as a Star Wars project. We know this, that I think 10, 15, however many years ago, he went to Lucasfilm and said, I want to do a Star Wars film the Zack Snyder way. And they said, nah. So he kind of went and shopped it around and then eventually got to Netflix. And I think that, George Lucas has been so open about the films that influenced Star Wars in the first place. So obviously, Seven Samurai was one of them, a lot of Kurosawa in there. All of the kind of, Tolkien-y stuff via the kind of mythic structure that Tolkien drew on. Lucas then kind of went back to and pulled stuff out of. All of that stuff that is in Rebel Moon is so already associated with Star Wars that every scene just feels like a Star Wars ripoff. So when you have
homage, spoof.
No. So this is here is the line, and here is Stephen King over here, and here is Zack Snyder, well over, not even, I mean, past the producer's booth, kind of out down Old Street Tube Station way. It's just, they turn up to the cantina and there's crazy aliens and there's the music playing and then there's,
No way.
Yeah. And then Charlie Hunnam is playing the Han Solo guy who comes in and, kills someone, and then everyone goes, rah, 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 and he's like, sorry about the mess, and throws some money, and then everyone's like, rah, 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 and it's fine. I can't believe I'm watching this. He's not kind of he is literally doing Zack Snyder doing Star Wars. So yes, not for me.
And not an audience for it from the sounds of it. Well, at least not with Mark anyway. At UK number 10, US 11 is Godzilla -1. I've seen this one.
Isn't it good?
So good. Dear the Redactor-in-Chief and the fantastic production team without whom this podcast couldn't possibly exist or be as good. Hear to that, by the way. I am a long-time listener, first-time emailer, legacy listener. I want to tell you about last night's fiasco. We're all big Studio Ghibli fans, and ever since my daughter knew that this film, The Boy and the Heron, was coming out, she's been asking to see it. So last night, my husband booked us in to see it. We roll up at 7:15 for the 7:30 showing. He goes to the screen to print out the tickets. Twice. Computer says no. He checks his phone, and yes, the booking is for this film on this night. But it's in Cardiff. We're in Newport. There are some great emojis here, which I should just show Robbie. It's like this.
Look, in my redacted version of the script, these are the only things that have not been redacted. So we've got the kind of the ghosty shock emoji. We've got the raised eyebrows, teeth showing emoji. Then got another ghosty shock emoji.
I don't even have those.
And then the raised eyebrow, teeth showing emoji, and then the raised eyebrow, no teeth showing emoji.
Mine just look like pandas. Anyway, sorry, Helen. My daughter's really upset. I send my husband up to talk to an attendant. The lovely Cineworld lady agrees that she'll transfer the tickets and let us see a film of our choice. Godzilla Minus One is the only film we can agree on. It was fantastic. Characters you care about, great action scenes and SFX, great film score and a plot that makes sense. And that ending, there may have been tears in some of our eyes. I mean, Helen, as I've already alluded to, I cry in every single film that I watch. But yes, I bawled my way through this bit. To paraphrase Mark's review, you're never waiting for Godzilla to return, and this definitely isn't a film in search of a plot. We all loved it, including my daughter, who got over her deep disappointment of not seeing The Boy and the Heron. Thanks for all the film reviews, Tinkety Tonk, Down with the Nazis, all of them, and a Happy New Year. That's from Helen in South Wales. Godzilla Minus One, I love how old-fashioned this film is, and it's completely unapologetically melodramatic in the music, in the kind of throwbacks. I didn't love the colour of
Mhm.
Godzilla's lasers heat
Okay.
thing. That was I don't know why, I just had a little issue with it. It kept taking me out of it because I
So
kept
hold on,
thinking
this is
about
when
that
he
colour.
does the radioactive
Yes,
breath. Okay.
yes. And I don't know why it took me out of it every single time. And I think that I know that is iconic.
Mhm.
I know that's part of the lore. I just don't like it.
I tell you what I really loved about that sequence is the fact that the explosion from the heat, the radioactive breath, is actually a mushroom cloud, which I found that was the moment at which I first welled up during this film. It's when
Yeah.
the citizens, because you have the carnage and the stomping and they're all running around screaming. But then there's the moment when that explosion goes off. They all sort of freeze on the street and turn around to look at it.
Yeah.
And I think the sense of being an ordinary person, completely overwhelmed and, life at the mercy of world events, came across so powerfully in that scene.
Yeah.
I found that really moving. And it's crazy to think of a Godzilla film as being moving. I enjoyed some of the legendary ones, the recent US ones, but was never moved by any of them.
No, and this just takes you on a whole other plane somehow, and it never lets you forget the story that it's really telling. It never loses sight of that, and I think I think this has come up quite a lot, and especially with One Life as well. It's quite tempting to talk about films that either are very specifically about war or are alluding to war as being quite prescient, etc. But they are always prescient. They've
Mhm.
never not been prescient. That's the scary thing, and I think that's what Godzilla does such a great job of reminding us of. It's not just now, and it's also then, and it's also fictional. It's all these three. It can be all of these three things at once. Thank you so much, Helen. At UK number 9, US number 16 is Napoleon. Robbie?
Yeah, this has been around for 7 weeks. I love that this film is doing as well as it's doing. It shows that there's still a market for big adult screen blockbusters that are not part of franchises.
Yes. And number 8 in both the UK and the US, it's The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Now, I didn't enjoy this enormously, or in fact at all, but I'm also quite impressed by how well this is doing.
Yeah,
It's now
it's stuck
taken
around.
17.4 million in the UK, and it's been around for 7 weeks. Obviously, it's done far better than the Marvels, the recent Marvel film that came out. I think it was a week before or the week after. For me, the good part of this film was the last bit. So after they've done the Hunger Game,
You don't mean the ending. You're not being facetious.
no.
You mean-
So it's like the last 45 minutes, because they do a whole other Hunger Game that you have to sit through. This is the Hunger Game that happened before the previous Hunger Games that were in the earlier films.
Yeah,
And it's all very, very familiar.
I'm keeping up.
And then suddenly the characters are sent off into the forest, and the hero's off has to go and train with the military. It's like, oh, this is interesting. This is kind of new. This is I wish they'd just focused on that and not felt obliged to have the kids running around an arena
Yes.
murdering each other in order
Battle
to get
Royale
there.
bit.
Yes,
The Battle Royale rip-off, homage.
I'll say homage.
It's not charted in the US. I don't think it's charted with you at all. It's UK number 7. Its next goal wins.
Yes, so this is the new Taika Waititi film that it's he kind of toggles between doing one for me and one for them.
Yes.
His ones for him are so bad. I wish he would just kind of
Just
do the
do
ones
ones for them.
And the thing is, with Jojo Rabbit, which was the previous one, I mean, my goodness, such an incredibly contentious premise. We're going to do a coming of age story set during the Holocaust.
With the
Like,
comedy Hitler. Yeah.
I with the comedy Hitler, and I loathe that film. I found it really repugnant. I don't think it was trying to be, but I think it was trying to be moving and interesting about that subject. But I think it completely bungled the way in which it handled it. And But a film like that, you can kind of understand why it would fall apart for some people. This is such a non-contentious, such an easy story about the
Which has
American
already
Samoan
been told
football
really
team,
well.
told beautifully in a documentary. So we know that it works, and
Yeah.
we know that it can be moving and engaging. And he bungles that as well. I don't understand how you can kind of take that source material
Yeah.
and have it fall around your ears in the way that it does.
Because it's so naturally full of heart.
Exactly. But no, not for me.
No, fair enough. What about Wish? Was that for you? That's in the UK number 6?
It was not. But it's kind of sticking it around. It didn't make much of a splash when it first came out, but maybe like Elemental, it's one of those ones that's just going to, parents will tell parents to, it's good enough. It kind of
Yes.
does the job, and it will kind of hang around for a while.
I've seen it twice, and I think the second time you get more out of it the more you see it, because there are so many things to look at and so many in-jokes. But I think the first time round is perhaps a bit of a...
Yes, it's like so kind of generic because it's trying to be the archetypal Disney fable.
Exactly.
And by kind of reaching to those kind of broad archetypes, it ends up just feeling like, well, this is just the blandest imaginable version of this story.
But it actually it isn't necessarily. But I think that's what it offers in its first go.
Yes, right.
So number 5 in the UK, number 5 in the US is Anyone But You, which wasn't screened for critics before Christmas, and obviously we're recording this 2 days after New Year's Day.
Yes, this is the Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney rom-com,
Yeah.
which I thought looked pretty interesting. It's Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. I'll watch those two very happily.
I mean, I don't want to give in to salacious gossip, but there has been a lot of gossip around this film. And
has there?
Yes.
Pray tell.
Well, I don't want to be... I'm not going to get into it, but there's been a lot of the behind-the-scenes chemistry.
Okay, so the chemistry is... Okay, fine.
Whether or not that's true. So I
have to say, if you were... Sydney Sweeney, does she have a boyfriend? I'm not kind of auditioning, but I mean...
was it, though? It was in breakup.
If you saw... Oh, has there?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to have seen the set photos...
Yes.
Which is what, having not seen the film, that's what my knowledge of this film is based on.
Same.
You would be sitting at home at the phone going...
Oh, I think that's what a lot of people did.
Yes. I mean, that was a kind of an angry...
of the boyfriend, yes. Well, and probably Glenn Powell's girlfriend as well.
I'm very sad that this was not screened for critics, but
I'm
it
really
wasn't.
sad as well, because I do really like Glenn Powell, and I didn't watch Euphoria, so I don't really know. White Lotus, Sydney Sweeney was brilliant. So cold.
What is it about Glenn Powell that you like, Rhianna?
His face. I mean, his brilliant acting. At UK number 4 and US number 10, it's The Boy and the Heron. Dear Boy and Her on the mic. I am an LTMF, a long-term Miyazaki fan, and have been looking forward to The Boy and the Heron for years. I was a little concerned when I read Wendy Ide's description of the film as middling Miyazaki at best, but Mark's glowing review laid my fears to rest. As I took my seat in the City Screen Picture House in York, along with a decently sized and beautifully behaved audience, I was sure I was in for a treat. However, for all its charms, it's a hot mess of a film. I just wanted to watch Robbie's reaction to that. Okay, you're
I'm
holding
like
it in. You're
Glenn
holding
Powell's
it in.
girlfriend looking at the phone during those photos just now.
It was
just try it, mate.
It was at its best in the opening act, describing the effects of firebombing on a Japanese family. However, the moment that our hero, Mojito, like the drink?
Mojito, yes, that didn't occur to me, but yes, you're right, like the drink,
Okay.
Mojito.
However, the moment that our hero Mojito entered parallel realities, the storytelling lost its coherence. Miyazaki is well known for developing his plots as he goes along, which isn't usually a problem when you have an imagination as powerful as his. But too much of The Boy and the Heron has he goes over there to do that with him, while she tells her that this because of that or for some other reason, quality to it. That was all with hyphens, by the way. There are a lot of birds, and they spend most of their time bursting through doors and pooing on people, which sounds like it might be fun. I mean, it does sound. But there's a dearth of laughter here. It was a long 2 hours. My wife fell asleep, but I soldiered on, trying to care more about what happened to the characters. The score was lovely, and I hope that wins at the Oscars. Other than that, I can't help feeling that The Wind Rises would have been a better swan song. Yours, unable to believe that I'm writing this, Ian Wilson.
That's really interesting.
Oh,
I should say also, as you've implied, I am also a long-term Miyazaki fan. I think this film is a masterpiece, but when I saw it at the London Film Festival, I got the distinct impression in the room that Ian's reaction and his family's reaction was more how the film had landed with people.
Really?
I think the thing, I mean, goodness, I'm such an old Studio Ghibli kind of first gen, lover of their work, and certainly over the last decade, with these films appearing on Netflix, the fandom for the studio's work has massively increased. And I think there's and this is not to be gatekeepy about it, but I think there is a certain perception of Ghibli as being quite a cozy studio, and there being a sort of a, there's a gentleness to their work, and through Totoro and Whisper of the Heart and those kind of films, there's a cuddliness, and it's all very sylvan and subdued, and it's not comfort viewing, but it is comforting to watch.
Yeah.
And I think the edge that Miyazaki's work often has slightly been forgotten in this new kind of cycle of fandom. And it's almost as if Miyazaki was kind of looking at these, the way in which people regard the studio now, and has made this film to destabilize that perception as much as possible. I mean, it's true. The birds, which you might think would otherwise be cute, cuddly characters, are pooing on people all the time. And he creates these little spritey things called warawara, which are like the forest spirits in Princess Mononoke. But as soon as they kind of turn up, within 5 minutes, they're being devoured by mangy pelicans.
Oh.
So there's this, there's this kind of, I'm going to give you something cute, and then I'm going to massively undercut it and disturb you. I should say I've also seen the English dub of this. I've seen it a couple of times in Japanese and once in English. Willem Dafoe plays, I don't know if it's the Pelican King, but some kind of old venerable pelican, has this incredible monologue kind of spluttering on his deathbed. In this very Willem Dafoe way. The Ghibli dubs are normally very well handled, and this one's particularly well handled. So yes, I get that it's a very tricky film to kind of get your head around in one go, and I do see that other people would have been disappointed. I mean, so for me, the way it landed really was that it's this kind of double autobiography. Miyazaki has spoken. Oh, have I ever mentioned that I interviewed him? But he's spoken in the past about one of his earliest memories being escaping the firebombing of Utsunomiya during the Second World War. Him kind of running with his one of his parents, I think his father, through the streets and getting separated, and then this kind of flame raining down all around him. So this is the idea of the kid moving to the country to escape the war, and his father being a manufacturer of airplanes, which Miyazaki's father was. That's all very much from his childhood experience. However, you then have the kind of Alice in Wonderland sequence where the Mojito goes down into the tower, and he discovers this kind of fantastical kingdom that's been created by this old man who, when he was a much younger man, withdrew from the real world in order to construct this incredible, alternate, beautiful reality around him. And then he's come to the end of his life, and he's not found an heir to continue ruling this kingdom in his stead. And the whole kingdom begins to crumble around him during his dying moments. But then, because it's managed to navigate, Mojito's been able to use this kingdom to navigate this period of intense grief, and to kind of address his fury at the world, and to address his unhappiness. And having gone through the kingdom, he's come out the other end a better person. That in itself is enough to have justified this man's entire life's work.
Right.
I was massively moved by that, because that's I'm sure that's how Miyazaki regards his or at times I'm sure regards his what he's done with his life. He's an amazingly principled filmmaker. He has such kind of particular views on I'm sorry, I could go on about this for
to wrap it up a little,
yes. But his worldview comes across in it very powerfully. I get that it doesn't feel like a great last film. I think the fact that it doesn't feel like a great last film is one of the things I love so much about it.
Okay. I mean, it's in the top 10. People do love this film.
I know, and this of all Ghibli films to get in the top 10, because it's a weird and a wild one. And
also, fun fact, do you know when Miyazaki's birthday is?
I should do. No, I don't.
5th of January, which is when some people might be listening to this.
Is it really? My goodness, I should send a card.
Do you know when my birthday is?
5th of January?
It is.
Wow, okay.
Fun coincidence, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that was not just a way of trying to get Robbie to say happy birthday to me. It's fine.
And I didn't even do that.
I know.
Happy birthday, Rhianna, for Friday.
Which is maybe today, if you're listening today. Number 3 in the UK and number 1 in the US, unbelievably, is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Absolute rubbish.
Yeah,
My goodness.
I think that's all we need to say. Number 2 in the UK and number 9 in the US, it's Ferrari.
Yes, which I thought, it's Michael Mann coming back to do fast cars driving through the Italian countryside. What's to not to like?
I mean, everything. I found this incredibly dull. Number 1 in the UK and number 2 in the US is Wonka, which everybody loved.
43.8 million so far. It's still going strong. I love that people are embracing this film.
Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. But I have done.
Excellent.